Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today I want to talk about the future of our country a little bit. The vast majority of people who watch my channel are Americans, and as an American, I kind of just want to take the opportunity now that the midterm elections are pretty much out of the way, and we're starting to get a better idea of what the government in our country is going to look like over the next couple of years. I kind of just want to discuss, the next few years of America. Where are we going to be heading? What exactly can the average American expect? Especially with these results, right? Because it is official, if you guys haven't heard, it appears from now that the Democrats are going to maintain control of the Senate. It was tightly contested. The Democrats absolutely needed to win the Senate. The House of Representatives is still undecided, but it's likely to go Republican, which would mean we'd have a split Congress. But with that, what does that mean for America? Where are we heading? What can the average American expect? I kind of just want to level with you guys a little bit and talk about my viewpoints on what I see America as, what I think is going to happen with the future, and just kind of discuss the outlook, right? Because I think it's pretty apparent the vast majority of Americans have pretty much made their mind up on what they think of the future of the country right now. You've got a lot of people out there that are very negative about the country. They think that America's heading the wrong direction. They think that we're not doing the right things. And then you have a lot of people who think America is turning it around, right? They're doing better than we were before, right? And before we get into this I want to say that neither side is really wrong. You can have your individual perspective on anything that you want. You know what I mean? We all live different lives. We all go through different experiences. We all have different stuff going on in our personal lives. So, of course, all of our experiences are going to be a little different, right? So I don't want to say that there's one right answer to this. I just want to give my perspective, talk about how I personally feel, and just overall discuss this because honestly, man, I do love the United States. And I know a lot of people these days are afraid to say that they love America, but dude, I love my country and I want the best for it. I want us to be the best country in the world. I want us to do amazing things and make life better for everybody here in the country, right? Now, I feel like most Americans genuinely share that objective. We want the country to be better. We want to have a better future for our children and their children beyond them. And we want to just be able to live peaceful and prosperous lives, right? I think honestly, most Americans are a lot more similar than they really think they are. Like, we live in a really divided country, people believe that we're all different. We divide ourselves entirely by skin color, by our sex and gender, by our socioeconomic stability and stuff like that. Social statuses, whether or not you went to college, whether or not you're a blue collar worker, like you're always hearing things about like how everybody's different, right? But I think the truth is we're all much more commonly together than we think we are, I think is the best way to put that. And I just really want to spread that message, man. Like, I think too many Americans hate their neighbors these days, You need to relate to the people in your lives a little more and learn to look beyond certain things and actually take the time to understand one another's perspective. And not everybody is willing to do that, but I think if more Americans were willing to do that, we'd be in a better position. But now that the Democrats control the Senate and the Republicans are likely to control the House, what exactly can we expect? Well, probably going to be pretty hard for them to get along, obviously. They don't see eye to eye on most issues. They're really more similar than they try to pretend they are, but, they got their policies that differ from one another and everything. But the Republicans, I think, are pretty dead set on not passing any Democrat sponsored legislation. It's a really big political tit for tat. Like, both sides really just don't want each other to pass good laws, it feels like. I've felt like in a lot of instances, like, Democrats have come up with good ideas for laws and for bills, and you'll see like Republicans just down it for a really stupid reason, and vice versa. I think Republicans come up with a lot of good ideas sometimes too, and then Democrats are just not willing to listen either, and they want to do their thing. And I think that happens too often, but that's part of what makes our political process what it is. The problem is I feel like most Americans feel like it doesn't represent them, like the system doesn't represent us. For instance, I don't like the government. It sounds funny to just come out and say, right? Like, oh, I just really don't like the government. But I don't like the government. I don't like the way it's ran. And a lot of that is both sides' faults. But I'm very hopeful that like my generation can be the one to fix that, And honestly, I was pretty pleasantly surprised by the voter turnout for Gen Z and for millennials, right? Because, younger people typically don't vote as often, but we had pretty good turnout from Gen Z and millennials. And honestly, I don't care which way you voted. You could have voted for Republicans. You could have voted for Democrats. I agree and support with people on both sides. I'm more one of those people. I pick the individual candidate. I don't really vote by party. If a Republican is going to be like fixing my life better than a Democrat, I'm going to vote for the Republican. Or if a Democrat's coming with better ideas than the Republican candidate, I'm going to vote Democrat. Like, that's just kind of the way I see the political spectrum. But unfortunately, that's not how the majority of Americans see it. And I feel like that's what really holds back a lot of like our country's progress when it comes to the political system. I think this election overall was better than the last one. Like 2020, everything just felt so divided. Like it felt like you had to be on one side or the other. I feel like a lot more people actually openly embraced not being party-based in this one. Like I know Republicans and Democrats won the vast majority of elections, but I feel like more people in my personal life were actually open to voting for people on the opposite party. And that made me feel pretty good. I think that's a pretty good sign, and I hope that that continues. I hope that's a trend that goes upward in America. But as far as the future, what do I expect? What do I think is going to happen over the next 2 years? I'm not hopeful, I'm going to be honest, and here's why. The world is kind of going to shit, it feels like, and I know that that stresses people out to hear, but like when you just look, the world feels different, than it did a few years ago, and I get it, right? Like we just got out of a global pandemic, there's like a couple of major conflicts going on, the Russia-Ukraine war, there's the potential for war to break out between, us and China or North Korea or Iran, there's a lot of different possibilities. There's the climate change issue. I know a lot of people don't agree on that. Personally, I am a believer in climate change, and I believe it is an issue that we need to address as a planet and as a society, but I understand some people feel differently. And, on top of that, we're in a recession. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to admit that. We don't want to say that we're in a recession, but dude, this is about as recession-y as it gets, And I feel like over the next few years, like economic times are going to be a little tough. There's going to be a little bit of a downturn, It's going to be harder to get through everyday life. And the problem that I really see with that is, when life gets harder like this, right? When, your everyday life gets harder, politicians capitalize on that and they sell a lot of snake oil and they give a lot of promises that they fully don't intend on keeping. And what that does is it gives people this false sense of belief in these political parties to make everything better for them, when in reality, that's just not possible. Like, if you're a Democrat, you got to admit and accept Democrats are not going to solve all the problems in this country. And likewise, if you're Republican, and there's a lot of issues that are coming up. And like this recession thing, like I feel genuinely for average day people who, work every day, 8 hours a day, and they're already barely making ends meet, right? Because how is that single mother of 3 going to feed her kids in 6 months if inflation keeps getting worse and grocery bills keep going up? It's just really tough to think about, honestly, because, like I just feel it coming on, and like all the signs are indicating that that's what's coming. So over the next few years, we're going to have this split government kind of situation going on. We're going to have this recession most likely. And I feel like a lot of these factors are going to combine together and just make life feel worse off. And it's going to be something that we just got to kind of grit our teeth and tough through. I know, maybe that sounds privileged of me to say, because like there's a lot of people in worse positions than me that like it's going to be hard for them to get through, right? But I just don't want people to lose sight, I guess, of the larger goal in mind. Like we can come out of an economic recession and be fine. We can get past a split government that might not be the best for everyday Americans. And we can solve a lot of the societal issues that we face, but we can't do any of those things if people lose their faith in the country and if people lose their faith in each other. And that's what I'm really worried about. Like we've already had all of these compounding problems over like the last 5 years: political tension, racial tensions, the pandemic, economic recession, global conflicts, all these things are all weighing on our minds. And even now still, like these things weigh on our minds, I feel like, right? But people just need to learn how to get a better perspective on one another, I feel like. That's my personal advice. Because I genuinely feel like long-term, a better world for everybody's possible, but it's not going to happen if everybody believes that it's not going to happen, right? So I just hope to see a little bit of a mindset shift from a lot of people, man. So the future of America, next few years, probably pretty dark in my opinion, but I feel like there's still time for us to right the ship, you know what I mean? So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, just sharing kind of how I view things and signing out.